What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holmes Hobbies Motor Control. It's your boy Josh, aka Coleman, sitting here at the workbench working on trucks, man. And it's a little bit of a late episode today, so I apologize, especially to you guys on the East Coast. But I had to knock out a little bit of other stuff this morning before I could jump into this. My cameras weren't ready, had to charge some battery. It was just one of them days, so, you know, Monday life. However, I had to make a choice today. Do we go over the Cherokee again and go over the latest greatest on that, or do we step into something else? And I felt like we needed to mix it up a little bit. We've been on that Cherokee a lot lately. There's nothing exciting really to talk about right now. So especially anything that involves, the electronics, I'm basically, all the Holmes Hobby stuff's basically installed. So I'm gonna, I just have to clean it all up, and then I can move on to the body, do the light kit, stuff like that. So that being said, eventually we'll come back and revisit it, and I'll show you guys how everything works and the final look of it. But for now, I think we're gonna go on to the new Axial SCX 10.2 JK, since or JKU I should say, since it's all the rage right now. I have an idea. I was sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, well, what can we do to it? It's pretty good right out of the box. I mean, all the electronics are good, so I don't really need to upgrade them just yet. And when I do, it's going to be when I do the build, and I got to think about the weight and all that other stuff before I do it. So, and I'm not to that point. So I'm sitting here trying to think about it, and I was like, oh, it came with all new metal transmission gears, which means we can upgrade the output shaft to a Holmes Hobbies one. So let's do that. Normally I don't do that until I have the metal gears for it, but at this time it comes with the metal gears from the factory. So let's do it. We're gonna take apart the new transmission housing and just kind of take a peek at it. I still haven't looked at the transmission, so let's do it. Well, first thing we gotta do, obviously, is take the body off. Oh, body pins, body clips, whatever you want to call them. You ain't my friend. All right, so, oh, easy there, Josh, easy. There we go. Get this out of here. Throw the body on the floor for now. Okay, so here she is, man. This is it, bone stock. Nothing you guys ain't used to. So, first thing we need to do is disconnect these drive shafts. Oh, and you can see I've been taking it off the road here. It's got some crust going on. But let's go ahead and take off the drive shafts, and then we can separate the motor and all that good stuff. All right, let's go. So now we've got all the screws out. We should be able to just lift this right off here. There we have it. So here is our transmission setup, man. This is it. Straight off the SCX 10 bone stock factory. It's still wet from the last time I drove it. It's pretty sick looking new housing, man. I know it's the same layout, but there's slight differences. So anyways, let's go ahead and crack the spur gear cover off here. Difference from last time is now it's only 2 screws holding the spur gear cover on, which is pretty nice. Alright, screws are out, cover is off, and here you can see spur gear slipper clutch setup, same as before, pretty straightforward. And you can also see that it worked. There's no debris or anything in here. It's right on the edge, but not inside. And that's pretty nice. There's no water in here either, because I was out wheeling this thing pretty hard. Goes to show that it is nice and tight. I don't know if it's airtight, but it's definitely tight. So didn't get anything in there. That's awesome. So let's go ahead now and I feel like we can leave this attached. I feel like we can leave the motor attached, and maybe we'll wind up with the same mesh. Could be wrong. But let's just go ahead and separate the back half of the housing. This feels a lot better than the old housing, I can tell you that much. It feels a lot more solid, a lot more rigid. Not as dinky, I guess you can say. Alright. Here we go. Separating that housing off there. There we go. Here's the inside. A little bit of grease. Nothing too crazy. Just a little bit. Very interesting. I'd like to compare it to an old Axial transmission, but I don't have one with all the gears. I have the old housings, but I don't have one with any gears in it. I feel like there's a slight difference here. You guys can see the shape where the screw hole is there is actually inside of the housing this time instead of outside of it, so that's interesting. I'll line it up. The gears are in all the same places, so nice. Looks good. Let's pull this out because this is the one we're gonna need to work on. This is the output gear. Remove that bearing from there. Go ahead and place that back in the other housing. And here we can see what we're going to be replacing are the two halves on this. And I'm sorry if I'm too close, I can't really tell. But we're going to be replacing the two halves on this here. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Now we're going to have to come over here, and I have right here, I've got a couple of OutDrives left. And these bad boys, focus, these things are beautiful. Let's see if we can get this to work. Alright, so it's two-piece, as you can see. Beautiful piece of machining. Alright, so let's put it together. There we go. All installed. Team K&K hardware. Now we have to put the whole gear package back inside the transmission. And while we're at it, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and lube this up with some udder butter. this transmission all back together, we can install it back in the truck. Alright, there we have it, all back together. Looking good. So, that being said, I'm just gonna wrap it up, man. Axial SCX 10.2, officially upgraded. See you guys on the next episode. You know what it is. Piece of chick grease. Yeah.